Dr. Adia Winfrey. There you are.
I'm here. Peace.
Peace and love. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as could be expected, I suppose. I want to thank you for coming a little early. I guess maybe you got my message. We had a little time, so
yeah.
Why stay up later than you need to, right?
Right. Look, the work does not stop. It just, it goes on and on and on. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here and, happy that I got the invite and appreciate the work that you're doing.
I appreciate that appreciation. I have, I think you may know, we have a Venn diagram of people and places, but I don't think we've actually been in the same place at the same time. So it's really been just an honor to meet you and to talk to you. And thank you for coming and spending a little time tonight. I appreciate you. What I want to talk about a little bit, obviously you do a bunch of things, they all kind of tie in together. And I love that about it. I have you noted, I've noted the people that the one thing that I guess I first came across was the H.Y.P.E curriculum and the H.Y.P.E movement. I know you're doing stuff more currently, but I think that's a great place to just kind of give people an understanding of, what one of your babies was, that you put together. So maybe just a little quick rundown of what the H.Y.P.E movement was, how you got to putting it together, your history as a psychologist and, all that stuff and how the curriculum came about. How do you talk about that work? And I think it's a great way for people to get to know you right out of the gate.
Awesome. Well, again, Manny, thanks for having me. My work with hip hop really has been just a lifelong evolution. I grew up to hip hop. Tupac was my favorite rapper. And I tell people that it really was divine because when I was 12, that's when Brenda's Got a Baby came out. And at the time that the song dropped, my 12-year-old classmate was pregnant. And the fact that this song was on the radio, even though my parents did not like rap, like most parents didn't back then, but it created an opportunity for my mom to talk to me about this real life situation through this song. And so that really planted the seeds for the H.Y.P.E curriculum. Now, H.Y.P.E stands for Healing Young People Through Empowerment. And it started out as my doctoral dissertation. I am a doctor of psychology. And it was the first of its kind as it relates to psychology dissertations. My aim was to showcase the positive side of hip hop because dissertations prior to that was like, these are the negative things that happen when you consume rap. Right. And so initially going into it, I'm like, I want to find a way to show the hip hop that I grew to, the way it empowered me. Right. And as I was working on the dissertation, I recognized that this was a need now. It wasn't just an assignment. This was something that could be utilized in the world. And so once I defended my dissertation and piloted the curriculum, I changed my dissertation into a manuscript and sent it to a couple of publishers and got picked up by Dr. Juwanta Kanjufu. And the rest, as they say, is history. Right. Once the book came out, at that time, I just moved to Atlanta and really was just kind of working it with, talking about the book in as many places as possible. And I got the opportunity to work for a community mental health center where I was able to do my curriculum. And a journalist contacted me, Chandra Thomas Whitfield, and did a feature of me in Jet Magazine. I was on Tom Joyner. This was in 2011. Right. And once I did the Tom Joyner show, that blew me up. Like right. Literally, as soon as it dropped, I started the company, Elevating Us. And, it just really like raised my platform. And the way the H.Y.P.E movement came about is I was going to schools and speaking, particularly Reader in high school in Stone Mountain. And the youth were just like, we want to work with you. A young lady, Brandy, she was a freshman at the time. And she's like, I want to be your intern. And I'm like, well, I don't really need an intern, but okay. You know right. what I'm saying? But, that's right. I was like, all right. But once that Tom Joyner effect hit, like 3 weeks later, I saw where I could bring these young people in and give them opportunities to express themselves, to showcase their talents, to have opportunities to explore their interests, because it really wasn't like any opportunities for young people like that in the Stone Mountain area. And so we did that for several years, and I'm still doing it. But the the young people are now in their 20s and 30s and have children and families, and it just goes on and on.
Yeah, that's dope. But first of all, where are you these days? You're not still around Atlanta, are you?
I'm actually in Talladega, Alabama. I have been
Right,
here
of course,
for 10
Alabama.
years.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing we talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
on the North Southwest. I'm still getting my bearings because I did the thing that New Yorkers do, and I moved to Atlanta. And so I'm west. So I'm actually close to Alabama. In fact, if I tell people where I live,
Oh, really?
the locals in Atlanta will be like, "Oh, you in Alabama?" I'm not, but I'm over on the west area. So yeah, I'm pretty close.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
so you close to me. Yeah. So I'm
close.
like only like what 25 miles from the Georgia border. So
Okay.
I
All right.
go to Atlanta frequently.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's there's again, if from New York, every place is horrible, but this is a nice area. We can deal with it. Okay. we'll let it. We'll give it a pass.
Spoken like a true New Yorker.
100%. 100%. But I do like it down here, and I love a lot of these interactions where you'll find organizations that are willing to. You say a community mental health, organization that are willing. They know the power of hip hop. They know the power of culture and arts. It's ingrained in Atlanta. It's very much part of the DNA. So you see a lot of that. So if I'm talking to somebody who's not familiar with, the idea, just the concept, I know it's foreign to some people who aren't familiar with the culture close, that hip hop could be an empowering tool. And you talked about it a little bit, like just the way you were able to talk to your mom about a situation that, might have been a really difficult thing to discuss, but here was a conduit, right? Here was a way to make that connection. That's one way. Just, I guess, maybe anecdotally or, in general, what are some of the ways that you see young people being empowered, through hip hop? Like the end of hype is through, through empowerment, hip hop through empowerment. How are you doing it through this channel? What are some other examples, I guess, if you had to be, I'm sure you've had to tell some lay folk who don't get it. How do you, how do you do that?
Yeah. One of the biggest things, one of the great things really about hip hop culture, particularly rap music, is that it gives you the opportunity to talk about a wide range of subjects. I mean, a wide range. And so oftentimes when we want to speak to young people, it's difficult just to, it's a huge first step. Once you start breaking down those walls and you get someone open enough to at least receive the information, then you can start the critical thinking. Then you can start challenging beliefs. Then you can begin introducing new ways of thinking, new ideas, new concepts, things of that nature. And that's really one of the powers of the H.Y.P.E curriculum, is that we present information that most any mental health intervention or therapy modality would do. We talk about grief, we talk about various psychiatric diagnoses and symptomologies, but we pair it with the music. And so it's not just us talking at young people, it's engaging them in dialogue and creating opportunities for them to lead. And so within the curriculum, while we do have facilitators, as you go through these 12 sessions, there's less and less work for the facilitators to do, because the youth really take ownership of the group and begin to challenge and see things in each other. And from there, you're able to help them create goals, help them to understand how these systems of oppression really shape what our realities are, and begin to help them to see the gifts that they have that we often don't see as gifts. A lot of our young people, and I think that is better now than it was 10 years ago, but a lot of gifts that our young people have are difficult to categorize in traditional jobs or settings, or, things that when we were coming up, were called a so-called good job. I think we're kind of out of that now because people kind of get it, but still, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, with hip hop, we're able, and using it as a tool of empowerment, we're able to create these moments where young people are able to see these things in themselves, but also to live it out. So, being a graphic designer, being an artist of some type, writing, photography, videography, being an entrepreneur. We're talking about those elements of hip hop culture that are in the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace, beyond, just the entertainment factor.
Right. We'll always say, like, there's so many more ways to be involved now. And you're right, it's better now. You could be, You could be a journalist that just covers, you could be me. It could be me, but you could be again, you can get into psychology. You could be a teaching artist. You could be a mentor.
Yeah,
you could be
come on now. Yes.
all these things. Right. And there's so many opportunities that even if you want to be, because, like many of us, I wanted to be a rapper. I was a DJ. I did production. I did beats. I did remixes. But now I make podcasts. Not this one, but other ones where we incorporate music and hip hop into that mix. And it's like, wow, that's a way I can still keep my creative talents. Maybe I'm not the superstar, right? But I can still be involved, make an impact. And I think for young people to see that, they're not often told that. And this is a great method to do that. This is great for, there's another thing I want to say, like to the people that might be listening that aren't familiar with all of these ideas that it's inherent to us. Like we know it. We know this stuff works. It worked for us. So we know it. And we're from different backgrounds, you and me, but it affected us the same way. So this isn't just something that I think what also happens a lot. And I think that it is more important that these things are happening in the communities from whence hip hop came, for sure, because you mentioned oppression. You mentioned just having a lack of resources, being underfunded, under-resourced, and underloved, by, greater society. So that's where these disparities can be, leveled out a little bit because of these great tools. However, it also can affect people across the board. Like this is something that's universal as well.
Yes.
Right? Can you just talk a little bit about that? How this doesn't just have to be like how we can fix the urban, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So when I first started implementing the H.Y.P.E curriculum in the Stone Mountain area, the youth I was working with were from all different backgrounds. Now, for the most part, I was working with the department, I think it's called like department, DHR, I think is what it's called in Georgia.
Okay.
So kids that were in group homes or maybe in foster care, but also youth that were going through the juvenile correction system. But bottom line is it was youth from all different kind of backgrounds, different races. Everybody wasn't into rap music, but there was something that everybody could gain from it. And so there is this universal piece about music that somehow connects us and becomes a bridge and a way for us to have difficult conversations sometimes. And the thing that I really was intentional about when I created the curriculum is I wanted to include music from different, I would say I intentionally didn't use so-called conscious artists.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also wanted to, and so, using that as a way to engage young people and almost as a teaching tool. So it's not necessarily that they're listening to the people that they would normally listen to, but in hearing this music and hearing a song that's older than them, there are lessons and things there as well. So even though they may like rap, they don't like our rap, but they can still find value in it and learn and grow.
Yeah. Factual. If you're listening on the audio feed, you already know this, but I'm speaking to Dr. Adia Winfrey, Dr. Dia, as she's affectionately known. And also when she spits her spit game, I've seen the videos. I've seen what you do. I've seen you getting down. Wow. Come on now. This was interesting because obviously you did this for a while, and I don't know when the change happened. Just trying to follow your career's path as we wear many hats in this game. This then also kind of shifted to being in a political sphere a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about when that happened, how that happened? Obviously, you ran for Congress in your area at the time, and what led you to say, I've been doing this kind of work. Now I'm kind of delving into this because it's a little bit of a different animal.
And it's very much the same. It's like the differences are there, but there's a lot of similarities. And it's interesting because all of this really goes back to my upbringing. I was my family is all from Talladega, Alabama, but my parents,
so you're back home.
I'm back home.
Yeah.
When my parents married, they went to the Louisville, Kentucky area. So I was born and raised there, but spent a lot of time in Alabama. But I was raised to be an activist. I grew up in the NAACP. Very much in the 90s when it wasn't cool to be an activist out there with a bullhorn, that was me. So when I created the H.Y.P.E movement, And now, mind you, this is when Obama was in office. And that's the other thing about H.Y.P.E. Initially, it wasn't the rap part that people didn't like. It was the fact I was talking about oppression, because apparently racism didn't exist anymore.
Right. What
But,
happened? What are you doing?
we all,
right. It's over.
right, like this is crazy. But, so when I was working with the young people, I was raising them how I was raised. And so I was engaging them, even though they were in high school, engaging them in understanding the power of the vote, the power of going to town hall meetings, understanding your rights, things like that. And so I moved back. So I moved back to Alabama in 2014. I thought it was temporary. I was coming home to help with my family, with my mom. My father had gotten sick. And so I came home, and when as soon as I touched down, my big cousin was like, all right, you about to be the modern day Rosa Parks. I'm like, cuz, like, I'm literally just popping in for a few months. Like, I'm not coming to stay. And I mean, doggone it, I'm telling you, the words he spoke, I mean, they truly, truly came to pass. And so as my dad was transitioning, people knew what I was doing with hip hop. I would often come to Alabama when I lived in Atlanta, and I would do things with H.Y.P.E. And so once I came back, everybody just had this idea that we should do a block party. My grandma had actually just passed away, and everybody was just kind of talking about that, like, we don't do stuff outside like we used to. And I was like, you know what, we should just plan a block party, especially like once my dad had transitioned in April. And I said, well, what if we just like do a block party around the 4th of July? And so we planned this big block party. We were going to make everything free. We did this huge fireworks show, and it was attended by over 250 people. It was like this, and this is a little bitty town that I live in, like super tiny. And it was right in the hood, and it was just amazing. And so after the block party happened, there was this incident of gun violence that happened in the neighborhood, where it was a young man that had attended the block party was murdered. And it just really brought the community together, and everybody's just kind of like, we need to do something. And again, I was already engaged, but that, kind of shifted how people looked at the work I was doing here at home. So that was in 2015. Fast forward to 2017, when this is Roy Moore, the political folks in my area in Talladega knew what I had done with the block party. And so they asked if I would volunteer, with the campaign. So I'm like, sure. And we knocked over 100 doors, me and my children, some other people that I got together. And we actually not only flipped the county where I live, but Doug Jones won the special election. So 6 weeks later, the same people in my area, because it was the 2018 elections were coming up, and they're like, you should run for Congress. I'm like, supporters to donate. And
wait, say it again. Run it back. I lost you for a second. Run it back. The last sentence you said.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. The thing.
So, I know my reception. So my children were just like, go for it. You know what I mean? They were small, and they were just like, yeah, like, you should do it. And so we were able to get some donors, and I qualified, ran a hell of a race. That was when we started the implementation of hip hop into politics. At that point, I had a primary opponent, and initially, people told me the sound advice, hide my hip hop background. They're like, you need to be Dr. Winfrey. Nobody needs to know about Dr. D and H.Y.P.E. Just, just be the regular, saying doctor. And I tried, I really did. But when I saw that racism and people's negative perceptions of me as a Black woman, a mother, going against a white woman who was a former Miss America, I was getting, even when I was, towing the line and playing the role, I was still getting the negative feedback. I said, I might as well be myself, if I'm going to run. And so we were just all out with it. I got a campaign DJ, and we were straight hip hop. And while I lost the primary, I gained a lot of support statewide. And the person that was running for governor put me on his campaign, and I was able to learn a lot, and again, continue to build the network. 2020 election came around. I was not going to run, but a lot of the same people that didn't support me in 2018 were like, we need you. Like, we get it now. You know what I'm saying? They really understood the message. And so I ran. As we know, 2020 was crazy between COVID and the social unrest that was going on. What I decided to do, because in Alabama, our issue is not voter registration. We have more than enough registered voters. Our issue is people honestly believe their vote does not count. And I know people say that all the time. We hear that everywhere, but it's the level of that in Alabama is just different. Right. And so what we decided to do, instead of making my campaign about me as a candidate, situations we were all seeing and going through, and showing people how that connected back to an election, how this was a voting issue. Okay. And we were very much hip hop. I mean, we were extra hip hop at that point. And I garnered over 104,000 votes, which was the second highest vote count for a person running on a Democratic ticket in my congressional district. I only came second to the person that was on the ballot when Obama ran in 2008. And the other interesting thing about that 104,000, it was a record low Black voter turnout. So imagine if the Black voter turnout had been higher, you know, with numbers like that. So people encouraged us, like, you know what, we like what y'all did, like bringing the message with hip hop, you know, giving us basic civic engagement. Right. You guys should keep it going. And so that's why we started Transform Alabama like 3 weeks after the campaign ended.
Got it. So, okay. So, no energy could be, what's the law of physics? You can't destroy energy. You can only transform it into something else. Right. So that was like sort of the pivot. The next stage of the political engagement was Transform Alabama. Yeah. Yep.
And so we started it. We did not know what we were doing. We thought we were going to be an LLC. We didn't know. We thought we were going to be LLC. And but then luckily one of my mentors brought me into a brand new civic engagement table. It just formed here in Alabama, literally at the same time Transform Alabama was forming. Yeah. And I came into the civic engagement table, Alabama Forward, at the beginning of 2021, and it has been a complete blessing. We have made so many impacts within the state of Alabama. One thing that I got to mention is I was one of the original plaintiffs on the Allen versus Milligan case, which is that Supreme Court case that led to the new map in Alabama, which subsequently changed the redistricting map in Louisiana and Georgia, North Carolina, on and on and on. Yeah. And that came from the work that we have done with Transform Alabama. We have, just really, really been intentional about using hip hop as a tool of political education, and not just having to be about going to the polls, because I mean, it goes so much deeper than that, but really engaging people holistically in our political system.
What are some of the ways, if you were a political consultant, right? Or, as I try to do and talk to other places and say, here's what we did that worked in that incorporation of hip hop. Maybe here's some things that didn't, that we thought would take off, but didn't. What's the advice you give to other? Because I would imagine you would advocate for this approach in districts all across the country, that we know how powerful hip hop can be. We know that when you don't turn your back on hip hop, I think of Dupre Kelly from Lords of the Underground in City Council in Newark, who lost and then won, but never turned his back on his hip hopness. That's Do It All. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows that's Do It All. So that was a place that he, maybe heeded that pivot you made. What advice would you give, or what? It's like almost like emphatic message would you give to political operations in other areas? Like, you need to do this. This is what works.
My advice would be to make yourself hip hop friendly, because the people that you need to vote are going to align with hip hop. And at this point, like I remind people, it's not that hip hop is about the youth vote. We just celebrated Hip Hop 50. I mean, hip hop, shout out to Minister Server, who calls himself the dopest hip hop grandpop. You know what I'm saying? We got grown folks that are definitely of the culture. Yeah. So
our knees were hurting. That's all I know is our knees were hurting after watching the celebrations, but we were watching them.
But we was watching them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if the people that we want to engage, you can get them by making yourself available to hip hop. And it's not just about having a rapper come up or playing a rap song or doing something corny. There are so many ways that you can make yourself hip hop friendly. Even just how you create your literature, how graphics that you may use, certain fonts that you may use, where you hang up posters. I mean, it's the subtle things, and really at the end of the day, anybody that has been involved with politics knows that you have to have volunteers, you have to have boots on the ground. And oftentimes, your budget, your pockets may be a little light. You're not able to pay everybody. But sometimes you bring that hip hop in and you can make people feel good about being.
Right. We'll let it recharge. We have to get the connection right again. We're talking to Dr. Adia Winfrey, aka Dr. D, who ran for Congress and used that experience to create an organization called Transform Alabama, which is now actively involved in engaging the communities, especially the youth, through the use of hip hop in order to help them, expand voter, registration, but not just registering to vote. Understanding how the political system works, getting a civic education, being involved with the process, going to the town halls, learning more about, what the actual, mechanisms are, not just going voting and pulling a lever. And we wanted to get into a little bit of that, but we had a connection issue with Dr. Diaz. So we'll see if she can connect back in. In the meantime, you're checking out Hip Hop Can Save America with the man Manny Faces. We are live every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, you could check everyone. You could check all the replays on YouTube. You can go to hiphopcansaveamerica.com/watch and make sure you're giving a thumbs up and you're sharing this video right now. Dr. Dia, you're back with us. I know the connection has been a bit wild, but we're here.
Can you hear me? I think it's the weather, because the weather was like a little choppy, but it looks like the connection is back good.
All right. I hear you now.
Okay, cool.
All right. We'll try to get it. We'll try to get it in. I won't keep you too much longer. And if it keeps failing, we'll just do it again. We can hang out again.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to know, you mentioned something. There's one point I wanted to get at was you mentioned that Transform Alabama is much more than just voter registration and going to the polls. It's about civic understanding and getting, understanding how the mechanisms work and knowing that your vote can indeed count. And I fear, I'm just looking at the political landscape as it's shaping up, that thing that you talked about where people thinking their vote doesn't matter is actually going to be more of an issue coming this election year. How important is it that the work you're doing, defeats that feeling of hopelessness?
Right. And that's the thing. And really, showing people how their vote does matter. And part of that is the basics of civic engagement, the basics of understanding how our political system works. Because a lot of the misunderstanding comes because people don't know what different elected officials are supposed to be doing. They don't understand who is doing what. So we definitely start at the basics. We do a program that is called HEAT, which is Heal, Elevate, and Transform, where we do basic civic engagement. The other thing with Transform Alabama is that we amplify the role that Black Alabamians have played in the voting rights movement for 3 centuries. And oftentimes, the message of how Black Alabamians actually shifted what happened in this country gets lost because the people who are more famous, their names get elevated. So, of course, you think of Dr. Martin Luther King for good reason, but the victories that he had were in Alabama, organized by Alabama organizers who have been doing the work before he was even born. He, was able to come along and help be a great mobilizer, help bring the cameras, help raise money to get the work done. But the manpower, the woman power came from Alabama organizers.
The foundational stuff.
There you go. And just even the execution. And so, we definitely talk about that and really help people here understand that these are our foreparents and how that ties into the civic engagement that we engage in now.
Yeah. Before we lose you for good, because the weather's apparently knocking us out of the box, tell me about what you're doing for Selma And if it doesn't work out, we'll get you. I'll do a little thing, and I want to share this information. I think what you're working together with, Selma this year, the panels discussions you have going on. Let me know what's going on in those regards.
Yeah, perfect. So this year for the Selma Bridge Crossing Jubilee, that's the annual commemoration of Bloody Sunday and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We are doing our third annual intergenerational free event. And we are going to be holding a press conference on this Sunday. We'll hold a press conference for the Hip Hop Summit this Sunday in Montgomery, where we'll be announcing who some of our special guests are. I can announce that Sly and the Family Stone are not only participating in the events on March 2nd on stage, but also some private workshops and things with some young people. So we're definitely excited. You can learn more at selmajubilee.com as well as at Transform Alabama.
The connection's wild. Selma Jubilee, Transform Alabama. That's where you're going to find all the information. There's a press conference coming up. I'm just down the road. Maybe I'll take a road trip and come hang out. We can see what happens.
Come hang out. Yes.
It could work. It could work. I'll definitely consider that. While I got you, we got a good signal. Real quick, tell anybody what they need to know. How to find you, how to find the information, and let's get people involved.
Look, y'all can follow me at Dr. Dia on pretty much everything. We're also at Transform Alabama on IG as well as on Facebook. Go to transformalabama.org. You can get info about the events that we do. You can donate. You can get merch. You can also go to selmajubilee.com. That's where you're going to find out everything going on in Selma. It's a 4-day celebration commemoration from February 29th up until March the 3rd. A lot of the events are free. A few things you pay for, but it's just a good vibe. And with the Hip Hop Summit, y'all, I can definitely say that Minister Server is going to be there. As I mentioned, Sly and the Family Stone is participating, and a lot of other good folks. Paradise Gray is going to touch the stage. Nice. So I'm just excited and look forward to everybody coming out to Selma.
Very dope. Like I said, I'm down the road. I hope to make it myself, but I'll spread the information and let people know. And then we'll get you back and you tell us about all the ongoing things you're doing.
Yep, I can hear you now.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted you to hear me say goodbye and thank you so much. So we'll talk again soon.
All right. Peace, y'all.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you. All right. Right on. Listen, once again, one time for Dr. Dia. Came through and told us, fought through all of the technical difficulties trying to make sure that we stay connected and let you know what's going on. This is just a wonderful example of an assortment of works that she does, whether it's the H.Y.P.E movement, the healing young people through empowerment. It's a curriculum. If you're a teacher, you might want to know about that. The hip hop empowerment model that she uses. Again, across the board, this is something that's universal. We can help kids of all ages, of all demographics, of all stripes and sizes and ways of life. Do hip hop. She has the receipts. She's seen it work. She's put it together. She makes it easy for you to figure out some more. Her political aims and experiences, becoming a candidate for U.S. Congress in Alabama, where, the black vote is sometimes thought to not be effective, but she came pretty damn close. And I think it's pretty important to know that, if those votes previously had not been thought to make a difference, that her numbers might say otherwise. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. So Transform Atlanta, I keep saying Atlanta, I'm sorry. But I'm here now, so it's like in my head. Transform Alabama is now the organization that's taking that next reign, that next initiative to not only bring people to the polls or getting them registered to vote, but let them know what all this means. All politics are local. What going to local, off presidential year elections are about. The mechanisms of government, how you could get involved and run for something yourself. She said, I didn't necessarily want to run, but they said I'd be an important voice, and she was and is. So check out those things. The Selma Jubilee happening this year, and the Hip Hop Summit, the Hip Hop Political Summit in Selma. I think it's in Selma. That will be a part of that. Can all be found at selmajubilee.com, and of course, Transform Alabama as well. So I'm not going to put all the things into the text. You know how to use the internet. You'll be able to find it. It's too much for me. I can't do everything. I was fighting with technology all night, but I wouldn't let it go because this is the world's most enlightening hip hop live stream. We're bringing you all the information about hip hop being used to uplift humanity and improve society. We bring you things that aren't bull crap. I'm not going to curse. Hip hop news that isn't about dumb shit.